Okay, video, journal entry. Gonna make this video just so I have a receipt on this thought. Just so I can go back and show everybody, hey, I said this. I have, let me turn my Warhammer 2 off here. I don't give a fuck. So, I put out a nice little dissertation on my Facebook several months ago, basically stating that the United States is in decline and giving a lot of historical context and citing some reasons as to why that's the case. And this Afghanistan thing only serves to prove that point and reinforce that fact. But here's what's going on is both sides of the idiotic political tribalist game here are blaming the other, of course. Oh, it's Joe Biden's fault. Oh, it's Trump's fault. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And the first thing is that we have to realize is that Afghanistan was not a failure. They being the people who started it, the politicians and their cronies in the defense industry, the contractors, construction contractors, the weapons manufacturers, they succeeded with flying colors at what they intended to do from the beginning. And we started seeing actually the war drums beating for more war in the Middle East, and I guess a lot of people consider Afghanistan the Middle East, but it's really Central Asia. But we saw the Iraqi Liberation Act in 1998. That was signed by President Clinton, but it was pushed by both sides. All of this stuff is bipartisan, and they succeeded. They succeeded because their intention was to take $2 trillion, approximately, and that's just with the Afghanistan war alone. That's not even counting Iraq. But let's just say with Afghanistan alone, $2 trillion of your children's money and your children's children's money and your children's 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 money, because that's who's going to end up paying it. They took $2 trillion of that. And see, here's the thing what Americans don't realize before I go on. So when the United States borrows money, okay, you can say, well, they're never going to pay it, whatever. No, it's going to be paid one way or another, either probably not by being paid back directly, but it will be paid back through inflation, through the loss in the value of the dollar and the purchasing power of the average American. Okay, and that consequence is going to resonate for decades, maybe even a century, given how much debt we have. So what their intention was to take $2 trillion of your grandchildren's money, okay, and funnel it to their cronies in the weapons industry, the defense contractors, the construction contractors. That's a big deal. Every time they have a war somewhere, happened in Libya, happened in Iraq, the politicians funnel money to their friends, their building contractor friends. Okay, they took that money and they gave it to their cronies. Okay, and then that was the main objective, and they succeeded. And Americans are too fucking retarded to really grasp that situation. They don't grasp how serious it is. That $2 trillion in debt is not going away, because either it's going to be paid back, which is the least likely, or it's going to bring about economic problems, which will be the payback. Nothing is for free. Okay, so they succeeded. Okay, Joe Biden voted for the war. Pretty much half of the Republicans, most of the Republicans that are in Congress now, and Democrats, most of them, it was the use of authorization of force, or whatever that act was put through in 2001, right after 9/11, and that was by far, it was immensely bipartisan. Very few people voted against it. Okay, from Nancy Pelosi to Chuck Schumer to Lindsey Graham to Mitch McConnell. Okay, and everybody that was there at the time, and anybody that objected to it. Ted Kucinich, for example, was chased out of Washington for objecting to the wars, just like Tulsi Gabbard was recently. But Americans are too stupid and they're too distracted by their shiny little television set and their little fake reality that they believe, especially the fucking boomers. Okay? If any group of people is not more responsible for what's going on, it's the fucking boomers who grew up on Walter Cronkite, okay, got brainwashed into believing that the media was real, like that it was truthful, and now they're too arrogant and they're too stubborn to admit to themselves, let alone anybody else, that they've been getting bullshit. It was all bullshit, okay? And most of them are gonna go to their grave reading those fucking newspapers, and they're gonna go to their grave watching CNN, and they're too intellectually lazy to do the heavy lifting required to understand, to know what's actually going on in the world, because it takes heavy lifting. You have to study history, and you have to do some traveling, and you have to be a worldly person, or else you're not going to understand shit. But they think they could just sit in their fucking TVs for a half an hour, 45 minutes a day, and drool all over themselves, and then they know what's what. And that's why this country is fucked. Okay? Going back to what I said earlier, a few months ago, I put out a very nice little dissertation on Facebook. I explained it perfectly. The United States is an empire. Empires rise and then they fall, and there has not been one empire that has not happened to, and all of the signs are there. Everything that has happened to Rome, to the Byzantine Empire, to the French monarchy, everything is to the British Empire. It's happening to the United States. It's not the end of the world, but it is the end of the United States being the richest and most powerful country in the world. So you better get used to it, okay? And thank mostly your boomer parents and your silent generation parents and grandparents and the older Gen Xers. Okay, this is one of those rare situations in history where one generation leaves the world, the society, less better off than they got it for the next generation. It's a multi-generational thing. Like, you can't just blame the boomers, and but the boomers are the heart and soul of it. I'll tell you that. You know, they're not gonna be well regarded, generationally speaking. You know, and boomers always get upset when you say that. Okay. Why would they get so upset unless there was some ring of truth to it? If it was just some retarded talk that didn't make any sense, that had no value to it, why would they get upset about it? Because it's true. You know? Outrageous. But Afghanistan was just the latest chapter, the latest step in a long list of happenings that really show me that the federal government is collapsing. It's 3 million or so employees are completely corrupt. They're incompetent. We saw that with Afghanistan. And I can't get into blaming fucking presidents over this. No. There's 3 million government employees. The Department of Defense is huge. It was fucked up from top to bottom. Top to fucking bottom. Okay? Everybody from the fucking intelligence guys to the State Department guys to the DOD contractors to the military brass themselves, not the soldiers. The soldiers are just there doing their jobs. But the leadership, there is no leadership. Okay, this entire system is devolved into a system where every fucking bureaucrat is out there for themselves. Okay? It's a broken system. The politicians are another symptom of the problem. Okay, empire building. United States became an empire in let's say 1898 or so, whenever the Spanish-American War was. You can call that. A lot of historians point to that as being the point at which the United States of America became imperial. Shortly after that, you start to see an administrative state form to administer the empire. It's happened to every empire. The Roman Empire, in the case of the Roman Empire, it was kind of the military was the administrative state, because they did a lot more than just fight wars. They did infrastructure, they did all sorts of stuff. So the United States started building the administrative state in the early 1900s. You see it progress through the 1920s. Then in the 1930s, of course, it blows up during the Great Depression under FDR. And it becomes a shadow government, basically. And originally, it's designed to benefit the empire, to help administer the empire and run it efficiently. Well, like all administrative states, they always end up becoming counterproductive. Okay, so that's exactly what's happening now. And nothing should make this more apparent to people than what happened in Afghanistan. You can sit there and blame Biden, okay? No, you have generals. Of course Biden should. I'm not a fan of Biden. I'm not a fan of Trump. I think Biden is a fucking clown. Trump was a fucking clown. I don't know, it's hard for me. They're both clowns in their own way, okay? But they were both symptom of the disease. They're both symptoms of the disease that the United States is suffering under. And it all goes back, really, to the fucking people. Okay? If Americans weren't so stupid and ignorant, okay, we wouldn't be in this situation. We've become a nation of lazy, sloppy, fucking retarded people, okay? And that's why things are falling apart. And so really no one has anyone to blame but themselves. Every American shares some of the blame. But it's especially those assholes, okay, who can't fucking admit, because they have too much pride. They cannot admit that they're being misled by their precious reverent media. Okay, it's starting to happen, but they held out for so long. I mean, Russiagate, what a joke that was. But people bought into it because if they had to all of a sudden admit that they didn't, that they were misled, it makes them feel stupid. Okay, all of this is stupid, and the Trump people too. Okay, the Trump people make so many excuses for Trump. Trump spent so much money last year. He started the vaccine nonsense, okay? He started the eviction moratorium, okay? He spent so much money. He's not the cause of the inflation we're having right now that we're going to have for some time in the future. That's how everyone's going to end up paying the debt. It's going to be through inflation, and it's going to last a long time, okay? It's a tax, okay? But Trump definitely contributed to the inflation. He started the stimulus check thing, okay? Now that's might turn out to be a UBI, make inflation worse. Who cares? It's over anyway. But so to close, Afghanistan was a success. Okay, they succeeded in fooling most people. Okay, most of these stupid people who sit around reading their fucking birdcage litter fucking shit. Okay, these people that sit in front of their TVs, catatonic, don't want to read a fucking book, don't want to really understand history. They succeeded in fooling you. They took your children's money. They took your money too. But they took your children's futures. And not just with Afghanistan, with all of this shit. They took your children's futures. Okay, so but no, there's no one to blame, uh, but you stupid American. There's no one to blame. Okay, so why don't you just think about that?